Welcome back to Stone Creek Farm. The world outside can wait. The evening has settled over the farmhouse like a soft blanket. The rain has begun its gentle work against the slate roof above you. You can hear it now, that patient tapping, the kind of rain that has nowhere to be and all night to fall. It is not heavy or urgent, not the kind that drives against windows with force or overwhelms the gutters with its volume. It is simply there, a companion to the quietness that has wrapped itself around this old stone house, a steady presence that fills the air with its soft percussion. The day has moved through its hours and found its natural close. Now the darkness outside the windows is complete and comforting, pressing softly against the glass while the warmth inside holds you close. The sky began to darken hours ago. The grey afternoon light faded gradually into dusk and then into the deep blue-black of true night. With the darkness came the rain, arriving as though it had been waiting patiently all day for permission to begin. Now it has settled into its rhythm, and you can tell from the sound that it will continue all night, one of those gentle autumn rains that lasts for hours and hours, soaking into the earth, filling the streams, washing everything clean. You have made your way upstairs, climbing the wooden staircase that creaks in all the familiar places. Each step is a reassurance that you are home, that you are safe, that you are exactly where you belong. The third step from the bottom groans under your weight, as it always does. A deep settling sound that speaks of old wood and many years. The seventh step squeaks, a higher note, almost musical, and the landing at the top gives a satisfied sigh as you reach it. The farmhouse is breathing its slow evening breath around you. The timbers are settling after the warmth of the day. The stone walls holding their centuries of accumulated heat, releasing it gradually into the rooms. There is a golden glow coming from the lamplight in the upstairs hallway. A single lamp is burning on the small table near the top of the stairs. It guides you forward, its warm circle of light pulling you toward the small alcove at the end of the corridor. The hidden sewing nook that sits tucked beneath the eaves. The hallway is dim but not dark, the lamplight reaching just far enough to show you the way. It illuminates the worn runner carpet that stretches down the center of the floor, its pattern of roses and vines faded to soft shades of cream and pale green. Take a deep breath now. Let it fill your lungs slowly, gently. Feel your ribcage expand. Feel the air move down deep into your body, carrying oxygen and life and calm, and then release it even more slowly. Let the air flow out through your nose or mouth. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel the weight of the day slide away from you like rain from the roof, like water off stone. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing calls to you from beyond these walls. The animals are settled in their warm places, bedded down for the night in hay and straw. Miller is sleeping by the fire downstairs, his large body stretched out on the hearth rug, his grey fur golden in the firelight. Fig has found his spot on the velvet armchair in the sitting room, curled into a perfect orange circle, his tail wrapped around his nose. The farm is at rest, and so can you be. The sewing nook is a small space, no more than 6 feet wide and perhaps 8 feet deep, carved from what was once just an awkward corner where the roof line angles down sharply to meet the floor. Someone, long ago, saw the possibility here and turned it into something precious, something useful. They built the cushioned bench that runs beneath the window. They added the narrow shelves along the walls. They made this forgotten corner into a place of purpose and peace. A single window looks out over the farmyard, though now all you can see is darkness and the reflection of your own lamplight in vain. The rain-streaked glass, the golden glow bouncing back at you, doubled and wavering. A cushioned bench runs beneath the window, built right into the wall with storage underneath for quilts and blankets. The bench is piled with pillows, 6 or 7 of them in various sizes, covered in faded florals and soft checks. The kind of fabric that has been washed so many times, it feels like silk against your skin. All the starch and stiffness long since softened away. Some of the pillows are square, some are rectangular, some are round. They are arranged in a casual pile that invites you to settle in, to nest among them, to make yourself comfortable for as long as you wish to stay. There is a small table beside the bench, just large enough for a lamp and a basket, made of dark wood that has been polished smooth by years of use, its surface marked with the faint circular stains left by countless cups of tea and water glasses. The table has a single drawer underneath. Inside that drawer are more sewing supplies, buttons and snaps and hooks and eyes, all the small fasteners that hold clothing together. The walls are lined with narrow shelves, painted white many years ago. The paint is now soft and slightly yellowed with age. The shelves hold spools of thread in every color imaginable, organized by hue, moving from warm reds and oranges through yellows and greens to cool blues and purples, and finally to the neutrals. The blacks and whites and greys and browns that are used most often. There are jars of buttons, glass jars that once held preserves, now repurposed to hold collections of buttons, sorted by size and color. There are packets of needles, some in their original paper packaging, some loose in a small wooden box. There are folded scraps of cloth, remnants of previous sewing projects, each one saved because it might be useful someday, because waste is not in the nature of this house. The lamp on the table casts a warm amber glow that does not reach far, just enough to illuminate your workspace and leave the rest of the alcove in gentle shadow. It is an old brass lamp with a glass shade that has turned the color of honey over the years. The glass itself is slightly wavy and imperfect, catching the light in interesting ways. The lamp uses oil, not electricity, and the flame behind the glass shade flickers very slightly, alive in a way that electric light never is. The light it gives is soft and forgiving. The kind of light that makes everything look loved and well worn and exactly as it should be. The light it gives is kind to aging faces and worn hands and faded fabrics, gilding them all with warmth. The rain continues its steady rhythm overhead. You can feel how the sound fills this small space, bouncing off the sloped ceiling just above your head, making the alcove feel even more enclosed, even more separate from the rest of the world. The sound is layered, not just one note but many. The primary rhythm of raindrops on slate tiles. Underneath that there are occasional heavier drops from the eaves. Underneath that, the whisper of rain on leaves in the trees nearby. And underneath that, the barely perceptible sound of rain soaking into the earth. You settle yourself onto the bench, drawing one of the pillows behind your back for support, a firm rectangular one that fits perfectly into the curve of your lower back. You feel the cushion give beneath you in that perfect way, molding itself to your shape, supporting you without being hard. Another pillow goes under your left elbow, propping up your arm so that your shoulder will not tire from holding your work. You arrange yourself with the care of someone who knows they will be sitting here for some time, someone who has learned through experience how to be comfortable for long stretches. The window is cool against your shoulder when you lean near it, a pleasant contrast to the warmth of the room. You can see the faint shimmer of raindrops catching the lamplight as they slide down the glass. Each drop catches a tiny piece of the golden glow and carries it downward, creating brief trails of light that disappear at the bottom of the pane. Beyond the glass, the darkness is complete. Occasionally, you can see the vague shape of a tree moving in the wind, a darker shadow against the dark sky, or the faint gleam of water in a puddle catching some reflection you cannot identify. This is your place, your corner of the farmhouse where time moves differently and the outside world cannot reach you. This is where you come when you need to think, or when you need to stop thinking, when your hands need something to do and your mind needs to rest. The alcove holds you like a cupped hand, protective and warm. You feel yourself relaxing into it. Your body remembers this place, knowing it is safe here. On the table beside you sits a wicker basket, its handle worn smooth from being carried back and forth. Inside it are the linens you have been meaning to mend. The basket has been filling up slowly over the past few weeks. Items are added one at a time as you notice them. A tear here, a fraying edge there, a missing button, a worn spot. All the small damages that accumulate in a working household. They are old things, passed down or found at the back of cupboards, each one with its own small story written in worn threads and faded patterns. There is a linen pillowcase with a small tear along the seam. The fabric is so soft from years of washing that it feels like water between your fingers. There is a kitchen towel with a corner that has started to fray, and the red stripes have faded to pale coral, evidence of countless trips through the wringer washer. There is a handkerchief embroidered with tiny bluebells that has lost a few stitches in one corner. The delicate work is coming undone after years of being folded and unfolded. There is a tablecloth with a square of fabric worn so thin you can almost see through it, damaged by being folded the same way. Every time, the crease creates a weak spot that has finally given way. There is a cotton napkin with a stubborn stain, a linen drawstring bag with a seam coming loose, a pillowcase with a small hole, and a tea towel with a torn edge. These are not urgent repairs. Nothing is broken beyond use. The pillowcase could be slept on with the tear, though the tear would grow larger with each washing. The towel could still dry dishes, though more fraying would occur. But there is satisfaction in taking something worn and making it whole again, in sitting quietly with needle and thread and giving these old things another season, another year of service. There is peace in the rhythm of repair, in the gentle motion of hands doing work they know well, in transforming damage back into wholeness, one stitch at a time. You reach into the basket and lift out the pillowcase first. Your fingers find it automatically, drawn to the feel of the linen. It is made of linen, true linen, the kind that has been washed and dried in the sun so many times that it has become impossibly soft. The fibers are relaxed and gentle against your fingertips. When linen is new, it is crisp and rough, almost scratchy against the skin. But with washing and use, it transforms, becoming softer and softer until it feels like silk, like water, like air. This pillowcase has reached that stage. Decades of use have gentled it completely. The fabric is the color of cream, not the bright white of new linen, but a warm ivory that speaks of age and use. The color slightly yellowed by time and sunlight, and the lye soap was used to wash it. When you hold it up to the lamplight, you can see the weave clearly, the over-under pattern of warp and weft threads. The slight irregularities tell you this was woven by hand, not by machine. Each line is slightly different from the last, evidence of human hands at work. The tear is along the side seam, perhaps 4 inches long, where the stitching has simply given way after years of use and washing. There is no drama in this tear, no jagged edges or violence. It is just a gentle separation. The threads are finally releasing their hold after decades of tension. You smooth the fabric over your lap, feeling the coolness of it, the slight texture of the weave beneath your hands, the substantial weight that good linen has, heavier than cotton, more present. The rain taps and whispers above you. You can hear very faintly the sound of the wind moving through the trees of Deep Pine Ridge in the distance. Deep Pine Ridge stands to the north of the farm, a dense forest of old pines that protects the farm from the worst of the winter winds. The wind moves through those pines with a sound like the ocean, a constant rushing that blends with the rain. Together they create a kind of white noise that wraps around this little alcove and makes it feel like the only place in the world. You reach for your sewing basket, a small woven container that lives on the shelf beside the table. You draw it onto your lap. The basket itself is beautiful, made of willow withes woven in a tight pattern, the wood aged to a warm golden brown. Someone made this basket by hand. You can see the craftsmanship in every perfectly placed withe. You handle it with respect, knowing it has held sewing supplies for many years, perhaps for generations. Inside, everything is organized just as you like it, the result of years of developing a system that works for you. The thread is sorted by color and stored in a divided section, the spools standing upright so you can see each color at a glance. The needles are in a small felt case, a flat rectangle of gray felt with rows of needles tucked into it, each one in its proper place according to size and purpose. The scissors with their worn wooden handles rest on top, the blades carefully closed, the metal sharp and well maintained. There is a pin cushion, a small tomato-shaped cushion stuffed with sawdust and emery powder to keep the pins sharp, its red fabric faded to a soft rose. There is a thimble, silver and dented, that belonged to someone else before it came to you. There is a wooden darning egg, smooth and perfect for repairing socks. There is a tape measure, the fabric marked with numbers that are barely visible now, worn away by years of use. You select a spool of thread that matches the cream color of the pillowcase, holding it up to the lamplight to be sure. Color matching is an art. It requires good light and a careful eye, because what looks like a match in dim light can reveal itself to be quite different in bright sun. You hold the spool next to the fabric, comparing them carefully. Yes, this is right. The thread is a soft ivory with just a hint of warmth in it, almost imperceptibly darker than the pillowcase, but close enough that the repair will be invisible when complete. When you pull a length of thread from the spool, it whispers as it unwinds, a delicate sound that is almost lost beneath the rain, a soft shushing like fabric sliding over fabric. The spool itself is wooden, old and smooth from years of handling. The wood is dark with age and oil from fingers, and it fits perfectly in your palm as you hold it steady. The paper band around the middle of the spool is faded and soft, the printed information barely legible, but you can just make out the weight of the thread and the mill that made it. You measure the thread against your arm, a method as old as sewing itself, from fingertip to elbow and back again, a length of approximately 40 inches. This is the right length for hand sewing, long enough to make progress before running out, short enough that it will not tangle or knot itself as you work. A thread that is too long becomes a problem, twisting and knotting. But a thread that is too short requires constant rethreading and slows the work. You cut the thread with the scissors. The blades make a clean snip that is satisfying in its simplicity, a definitive sound that marks the beginning of the work. The sound of the scissors closing is crisp and final, metal on metal. The thread falls away from the spool, suddenly independent, ready to be put to use. The cut end of the thread is clean and sharp, the fibers severed neatly, not frayed or fuzzy. This will make threading the needle easier. You set the spool back in your basket, returning it to its proper place among the other creams and ivories. You reach for a needle, selecting one of medium size, with an eye that is large enough to thread easily, but small enough to slip through the linen without leaving obvious holes. The needles are kept in the small felt case, rows of them tucked into the soft fabric, organized by size from largest to smallest. You draw one out carefully, feeling its sharp point with the pad of your thumb. The needle is steel, cool to the touch. It catches the lamplight along its length, a tiny gleam of silver in your fingers, perfectly straight, perfectly sharp. Threading the needle is a small ritual, one that requires focus and patience, a moment of complete attention before the work can begin. You hold the needle up to the lamplight, positioning it so that the light shines directly through the eye. The eye becomes a tiny oval of brightness, a point of focus in the dim room. You bring the thread to it carefully, guiding the end through with steady fingers, trying to match the motion of your hand to the small opening, to pass the thread through that tiny space. The thread wants to bend and fray at the tip. The individual fibers are separating slightly. You wet it slightly with your tongue, an old trick, smoothing the wetted fibers between your fingers to create a point. The moisture helps the fibers stick together temporarily, creating a firm tip that will pass more easily through the eye of the needle. This time, it slides through more easily. You pull it halfway so that you have two equal lengths to work with. The thread hangs in a loop from the eye of the needle. The thread whispers as it moves through the eye, a soft sound like fabric sliding over fabric. You feel the familiar satisfaction of this small accomplished task. You tie a small knot at the end of the double thread, rolling the thread between your finger and thumb, feeling it twist and tighten into a secure beginning. This is a motion your fingers know by heart, performed thousands of times. The thread wrapped around your finger, then rolled between finger and thumb. The resulting knot is small and tight. You pull on it gently to test it. It holds firm. A tiny bead of thread at the end of your working length. The pillowcase is ready, spread across your lap. The needle is ready, threaded and knotted. Your hands are ready, positioned and comfortable. And you are ready. Your mind is settling into the focused calm that this work requires. The narrow attention that excludes everything else and concentrates only on the movement of needle and thread, only on the fabric and the repair. Breathe with me now. In slowly through your nose, hold for just a moment, and out even more slowly through your mouth. Feel how your body softens with each breath, how your muscles release their grip, how everything becomes a little easier, a little lighter. You fold the fabric so that the torn edges meet, aligning them carefully so that the seam will lie flat when you are done. This is important, this initial alignment, because if the edges are not properly matched, the repair will pucker and pull, creating an ugly gather that will never lie flat. You smooth the fabric with your palm, pressing the two edges together, running your fingers along the tear to make sure everything is aligned properly. You position your needle at the very beginning of the tear, where the old stitching ends and the separation starts. You bring the needle to the fabric at the very edge, where the first stitch should begin. Positioning the sharp point against the linen, feeling for the exact spot where it should enter, and then you push the tip through from the underside, applying gentle pressure, feeling it slide through the linen with barely any resistance. The fabric parts easily for the needle. The fibers separate and then close around the steel shaft. You pull the thread through slowly, watching it emerge on the top side of the fabric, the cream-colored strand appearing like a small snake from a hole. The thread glides through the fabric, smooth and steady. The doubled length pulls easily. You pull it all the way until the knot catches on the underside. A gentle tug that tells you the thread is secure, anchored in place. You can feel the small resistance as the knot meets the fabric, refusing to go further. You know that your first stitch is secured. Now you make your first stitch, pushing the needle back down through both layers of fabric, feeling the slight give as it passes through. The double thickness of linen offers more resistance than a single layer, but still yields easily to the sharp needle. You bring the needle back up a short distance away, perhaps 1/8 of an inch, keeping your stitches small and tight so that the repair will be strong. This is a simple running stitch, the kind you have done 1,000 times, where the needle goes in and out in a steady rhythm, creating a line of small, even stitches that will hold the fabric together. The thread pulls through with a soft whisper. You continue, falling into the rhythm of it. The ancient rhythm of hand sewing that has been the same for thousands of years, unchanged despite all the other changes in the world, down through the fabric, up through the fabric, the needle flashing in the lamplight, the thread follows in a neat line, creating a path of connection. Joining what was separated, the motion becomes meditative. Your hands know exactly what to do without your mind needing to direct them. Muscle memory is taking over, allowing your conscious mind to rest. Down and up, down and up. The needle finds its path, the thread securing the fabric. Each stitch is the same size as the last, evenly spaced, creating a uniform line of repair. You can feel the slight pull of the thread as each stitch tightens. The fabric is drawing together incrementally. The gap between the torn edges is closing bit by bit. The separation becomes a joining. The linen slides smoothly over your lap as you work. The cool fabric is a pleasant contrast to your warm hands. You smooth it periodically with your free hand, keeping everything aligned, making sure the seam stays straight and true. The rain continues overhead. Occasionally a slightly heavier gust of wind sends a scatter of drops against the window beside you. a gentle pattering that adds texture to the constant background hum, like someone tapping their fingers on a drum. You notice how your breathing has slowed without you being aware of it, matching itself to the pace of your stitching. There is a natural coordination between breath and movement, an unconscious synchronization. You find yourself breathing in as the needle goes down through the fabric, breathing out as it comes back up. The rhythm of respiration matches the rhythm of repair. Your shoulders have dropped. The tension that was there earlier in the day, the tightness across your upper back, has melted away, dissolved by the repetitive motion and the focused attention. There is a pleasant looseness in your neck, in your jaw, in all the muscles that were tense from the day's work and worries. The work requires just enough attention to keep your mind focused, but not so much that it creates any strain. You find yourself settling deeper into this quiet moment, deeper into the peace of simply being here, doing this small, simple thing. The needle moves through the fabric, up and down, up and down. You watch the thread create its line, a cream-colored path that follows the edge of the tear like a traveler following a road. The stitches are small and even. Each one is the same size as the last. You take satisfaction in their uniformity, in the neatness of the work, in the care that shows in every carefully placed stitch. This is a skill learned over many years, the ability to make stitches that are consistent and true. Though the skill is not remarkable, anyone could learn it with practice and patience. You feel a quiet pride in it nonetheless. The thread has warmed from your hands now. No longer cool to the touch, it slides through the fabric more smoothly, as though it has learned the rhythm and knows where it needs to go, as though it is cooperating with your efforts. The needle too has warmed. The steel is taking on your body heat, becoming an extension of your hand rather than a separate tool. You can feel the texture of the linen beneath your fingertips as you work, the slight nubby quality of the weave, the characteristic texture of hand-woven fabric is where the threads are not perfectly uniform, creating a subtle variation that machine-woven fabric lacks. The coolness that the linen had initially has faded somewhat. The fabric absorbs warmth from your hands and your lap, but it never becomes truly warm the way cotton does. Linen has a quality of always remaining slightly cool, slightly aloof, which makes it perfect for summer sheets and hot weather clothing. The pillowcase has a weight to it, a presence, a substantial feel that speaks of quality and durability. This is fabric that was made to last, woven tightly, made from good flax fiber. You smooth it periodically as you stitch, keeping the fabric flat and aligned, making sure that your seam stays straight and true. The repair will be invisible when complete. The tear is perhaps a quarter closed now. Your stitches continue their neat procession along the edge, marching forward in orderly rows like soldiers on parade. The lamplight is steady and warm, casting no harsh shadows, just a gentle golden glow that makes everything in the alcove look soft and peaceful. bathed in honey-colored light. The spools of thread on the shelves behind you are visible in your peripheral vision, rows of color organized by shade, moving through the spectrum like a rainbow. The sight of them is comforting somehow. This abundance of materials for repair, this readiness to make things whole, this commitment to maintaining and preserving rather than discarding and replacing. Your needle continues its path. Your mind has become quiet, thoughts drifting through without catching or snagging, like leaves floating on the surface of still water, present but not demanding attention. The rain provides a constant backdrop, a white noise that fills the spaces between thoughts. You feel held by it, cradled by this steady sound that speaks of abundance and patience, of water cycling through its eternal pattern, of the sky giving back to the earth what the earth gave to the sky. The stitches march along the seam in a tidy row. Each one is the same size as the last, each one placed with care and attention. The thread loops through the fabric and pulls snug, creating a small raised line on the underside where the stitches live, and a nearly invisible line on the top, where only the tiny punctures of the needle show. You can see where the old stitching begins on the other side of the tear, waiting for you to reach it, the original seam that held this pillowcase together for so many years. You aim toward it steadily, closing the gap bit by bit, stitch by stitch, in no hurry at all, taking whatever time the work requires. The fabric feels good in your hands, substantial and real. There is something deeply satisfying about this tactile work, this engagement with physical materials, with thread and needle and cloth. In a world that so often exists in screens and abstractions, in pixels and data and virtual spaces, there is comfort in the concrete reality of textile repair, in the simple mechanics of thread pulling fabric together, in the laws of physics and the properties of materials. Your hands know what to do. Your fingers are moving with practiced confidence. You let them work while your mind rests, half aware, half dreaming, suspended in this pleasant state between full alertness and complete relaxation. You reach the midpoint of the tear now, the halfway point in your repair. You pause to adjust your grip on the fabric, smoothing it over your lap and checking that the edges are still aligned properly. You run your fingers along the seam you have created, feeling the slight ridge of the stitches on the underside, checking that everything is lying flat, that no puckers or gathers have formed. Yes, everything is as it should be. The seam is straight, the stitches are even. The linen is beginning to close like a healing wound. The two sides are coming together seamlessly, becoming one continuous piece once more. You can barely see where the tear was now. Your stitches have closed it so neatly. Only the fresh line of thread marks the path you have taken. Even that is so close in color to the fabric that it is difficult to distinguish unless you know exactly where to look. You run your finger along the stitches, feeling the slight texture they create. The small bumps are where the thread passes through the fabric. You nod slightly to yourself, satisfied with the work so far. This is good mending, careful and precise, the kind of work that will last. The wind picks up slightly outside. You hear it move around the corners of the farmhouse. A low sound that speaks of the vastness of the dark fields beyond, of the empty lanes and sleeping trees, of the whole countryside tucked beneath this rain-soaked sky. But you are inside, you are warm, you are safe in this small alcove with your lamp and your needle and your work. The farmhouse protects you. Its thick stone walls and sturdy timbers keep the weather at bay. You feel grateful for this shelter, for this place that has stood for so many years, through so many storms, and will stand for many more. The lower half of the farmhouse is built of stone, massive blocks of local granite that were quarried nearby and dragged here by oxen more than 200 years ago. The stone is 3 feet thick in places. Once it absorbs heat, it holds it for days, radiating warmth back into the rooms. The upper half of the house is a timber frame, huge oak beams joined with wooden pegs, no nails, just careful craftsmanship and the strength of well-fitted joints. The whole structure is solid and permanent, built to last for generations. You feel that permanence around you, that sense of being held by something larger and older than yourself. You return to your stitching. The needle is dipping in and out. The thread follows. The rhythm is so steady now that you barely have to think about it. Down through both layers of linen, feeling the needle pierce the weave. The slight resistance and then the yielding. Then up again, a short distance away. Pulling the thread, snug but not too tight, maintaining that perfect tension that creates a strong seam without puckering the fabric. Your wrist moves in a gentle rocking motion, guiding the needle. Your other hand holds the fabric steady, supporting the work. The two hands work together in practiced coordination. The tear is 2/3 closed now. Your stitches continue their neat procession along the edge. You can feel the slight tug of the thread as each stitch pulls snug. The fabric is drawing together. There is something almost meditative about it. This gentle pull and release, over and over. A rhythm as old as human culture, as ancient as the first discovery that thread could join fabric. The needle has warmed in your hand from your body heat. The metal is taking on your temperature, no longer cool but neutral, comfortable. The thread slides through more smoothly now, as though it has learned the path and knows where it needs to go. Let your breath deepen again. Notice how your belly rises with each inhale, how your chest expands, and then how everything softens and releases with each exhale. Your body knows how to relax. You are simply allowing it to do what it naturally wants to do. The last section of the tier approaches. Your needle is moving steadily toward the point where your fresh stitches will meet the old ones in a seamless join. You make each stitch with care, maintaining the same rhythm and tension, and then you are at the end of the tear. Your fresh stitches meet the old stitching that has held the rest of the seam together all these years. You make your final stitch, pushing the needle through one last time, feeling it emerge on the underside. Then you bring it through to the back of the fabric to tie off the thread. Tying off requires care and precision, creating a knot that will hold securely but not be visible from the front. You make a small stitch in place, not going through to the front, but catching only the back layer of fabric. You leave a loop. Then you pass the needle through the loop twice, creating a knot. You pull it tight against the fabric, feeling it cinch down. You repeat this process once more for security. Then you snip the thread close to the fabric with your scissors, leaving just a tiny tail that will disappear into the weave. The scissors make their clean snipping sound. Sharp metal blades are closing decisively. You set them back on the table, the wooden handles clicking softly against the wood of the tabletop. You hold up the pillowcase, turning it in your hands to examine your work in the lamplight, rotating it slowly so that you can see the repair from different angles. The tear is closed, the two edges joined, the repair is nearly invisible, just a slight line of cream thread against cream fabric. When you run your finger along the seam, it feels smooth and strong. The two sides fully joined once more. You can feel a small ridge on the underside where the stitches are, but on the top surface, the repair is so subtle you would have to know it was there to find it. You hold it up to the lamplight and the light shines through the fabric. You can just barely see the double thickness where the seam is, but it is uniform and neat, professional looking. You fold the pillowcase carefully, corner to corner, matching the edges precisely, then fold it again, creating a neat square. You set it aside on the bench beside you, on the cushion, where it rests in a small, neat parcel. This small thing is made whole again. It has been tended to, cared for, given another life. It will go back into service, back into the linen cupboard. Someone will sleep on it again. It will do its work of cradling heads and absorbing dreams for many more years before it wears out again. The rain continues its patient work overhead. You sit for a moment in the quiet satisfaction of completed work. Your hands are resting in your lap. The needle is still threaded and ready for the next repair. The basket beside you still holds many items, a whole collection of things waiting to be mended. You feel no urgency to move through them quickly. The night is long, the alcove is warm. There is pleasure in this slow, methodical work, in the rhythm of mending, in the steady progress from broken to whole. You reach into the basket and draw out the kitchen towel next. Your fingers find it by feel, recognizing the rougher texture of cotton after the smooth coolness of linen. This towel is a rectangle of woven cotton, perhaps 20 inches by 30 inches, with a stripe of faded red along each edge, a decorative element that also serves to indicate which edge is which when the towel is folded. This towel has lived a long life in the farmhouse kitchen, drying dishes and hands and vegetables from the garden. hanging on its hook by the sink, always within reach, always ready for service. The evidence of its work is visible in the thin spots where the fabric has been rubbed most often, places where hands have gripped it while drying dishes, where it has been rubbed over wet plates and bowls and cups thousands of times, where the constant friction has worn the fibers thin. One corner has begun to fray. The threads are separating and curling outward, creating a small tangle of loose cotton fibers that catch on your fingertips when you touch them, tiny hooks that snag and pull. You spread the towel across your lap. Feel the slight roughness of the cotton against your hands, so different from the smooth linen of the pillowcase. The cotton has a warmth to it, a humble quality, more domestic and everyday than linen's elegance. The texture is more pronounced. You can feel the individual threads more clearly. The over-under pattern of the weave creates a bumpy surface that is perfect for drying because it creates more surface area, more places for water to be absorbed. The red stripes have faded to a soft coral color, the dye worn away by countless washings in hot water and lye soap, by hours of hanging in the sun on the clothesline where the sunlight slowly bleached the color away. What was once a bright cherry red is now a gentle coral pink. There are a few small stains that no amount of washing could remove, evidence of berry juice or beet water or tomato sauce, the unavoidable marks of a well-used kitchen towel. These stains do not diminish the towel. If anything, they add character. They tell the story of the towel's life, of the meals it has been part of preparing, of the messes it has helped clean up. You find the frayed corner and examine it closely in the lamplight, bringing it near the lamp so that you can see every detail. The threads have pulled loose for about an inch along each edge that meets at the corner, creating a small area of unraveling where the weave has given way. The individual threads are visible, each one curling and separating. If this is not repaired soon, the fraying will continue, unraveling further up each edge, eventually destroying the corner entirely. You smooth the loose threads with your fingers, assessing what needs to be done, running your fingertips over the damage, feeling the roughness of the frayed edge compared to the smooth woven edge elsewhere. This repair will be different from the pillowcase. Rather than stitching a seam closed, you need to secure the loose threads and prevent further fraying. The standard method for this is to fold the edge over twice, creating a small hem that will encase the raw threads and give the corner a clean, finished edge that cannot unravel further. You select a spool of red thread from your basket, reaching for the section where the reds and pinks are stored, running your fingers over the spools until you find one that seems right. You pull it out and hold it up next to the faded stripes on the towel. Comparing them in the lamplight, the thread is slightly brighter than the faded stripes, still holding its original color while the fabric has faded, but it is close enough that it will blend in once the repair is complete. Perfect color matching is not always possible. Sometimes a slightly different shade creates a pleasing contrast, evidence of repair rather than an attempt to hide it. The spool is smaller than the cream one you used earlier, nearly empty. Only a few yards of thread remaining wound around the wooden core. You make a mental note to add red thread to your list of supplies to purchase next time you visit old Mr. Abernathy's store in Little Briar. Mr. Abernathy keeps a good stock of sewing supplies, threads and needles and fabric. He will know exactly what you need when you tell him. You pull a length of thread from the spool, measuring it against your arm as before, from fingertip to elbow and back again. You cut it with the scissors, the blade snipping through the thread with that same satisfying sound, a clean, decisive cut. You thread your needle once more, the process familiar and easy now, your fingers knowing exactly how to position the thread, how to guide it through the eye of the needle. The red thread is slightly thicker than the cream was, a different weight, a more substantial thread meant for heavier fabrics. It takes a moment longer to coax through the needle's eye, the thicker thread requiring more precision in the threading, but then it slides through and you pull it halfway, equalizing the two lengths, creating a double thread that will be stronger than a single strand. You tie a knot at the end, roll in the thread between finger and thumb, the motion automatic and precise. You test it with a gentle tug, feeling it hold firm. The knot small and tight at the end of the working length. The towel lies across your lap, the frayed corner positioned where you can work on it easily. You fold the edge over once, a narrow fold of perhaps a 1/4 inch. Tucking the loose threads inside, you press the fold flat with your thumb, creasing it, feeling the cotton yield to the pressure. Then you fold it over again, encasing the first fold completely, creating a double hem that will be strong and secure. The double fold ensures that no raw edges are exposed, that all the loose threads are completely enclosed, protected from further fraying. You pin this in place with your fingers, holding it steady against your lap, pressing the fold flat so that it will stay in position while you stitch. You bring your needle to the corner where the two folded edges meet, positioning it carefully. You push the tip through all the layers of fabric from underneath. The needle requires more pressure this time. The cotton is thicker than the linen, and you are pushing through multiple layers. 3 or 4 layers of fabric folded together. You feel it resist before it breaks through. There is a satisfying moment when the needle penetrates, when you feel the pop of the fibers separating. Then it slides through more easily and emerges on top. You pull the thread all the way until the knot catches on the underside, securing the thread. You begin a simple whip stitch along the edge, the needle going over the folded edge and catching the fabric beneath, pulling the hem down flat. This is a different stitch than the running stitch you used on the pillowcase. A different motion, where the thread wraps over the edge rather than going straight through. The needle comes up from underneath, goes over the edge, returns to the underside. creating a spiral of thread around the folded edge, over and through, over and through, your stitches small and close together, creating a neat line of red thread that secures the fold, that locks the hem in place. The red thread shows more prominently than the cream did on the pillowcase, creating a visible line of stitching, but that is appropriate here. This is utilitarian mending, meant to be strong and durable rather than invisible. The red thread on the red stripe creates a pleasing effect, a decoration that is also functional. The rhythm is slightly different from the running stitch, a different placement of the hands, a different angle of the wrist, but equally satisfying in its repetition, over and through, over and through. The needle finding its way, the thread following behind, looping over the edge and catching the fabric beneath, securing the hem with each pass. Your hands remember this stitch as well as they know the other. Muscle memory from years of mending guiding your fingers. You fall into the rhythm easily, your mind quiet and your focus soft. You can feel the slight roughness of the cotton against your fingertips as you work, the texture more pronounced than the linen, the individual fibers more present against your skin. The cotton seems to grab at your fingers slightly, where the linen slid smoothly. You notice how the towel seems to absorb the warmth from your hands, holding it the way cotton does, becoming warmer the longer you work with it. This fabric has a different character than linen, more practical, more humble perhaps, but no less worthy of care and attention. The first edge is complete, a neat line of red stitches securing the folded hem. You examine it closely, running your thumb over the stitches to check that they are secure, that the hem is lying flat. Yes, this is good work. The edge is no longer frayed. The loose threads are tucked safely inside the double fold. The red stitching creates a tidy finish. You move to the second edge where it meets at the corner, folding it over in the same way, once to tuck the loose threads inside, then again to create the double fold. You hold the fold in place with your fingers, pressing it flat against your lap. You continue your whip stitch, turning the corner neatly and moving along the new edge. The corner itself requires a bit of extra attention. A few additional stitches to make sure everything is secured, that all the loose threads are caught and held, that the hem is reinforced at this point where two edges meet. You take your time with it, making sure the fold is flat and the threads are completely encased, adding an extra stitch or two at the point where the two folds intersect. The corner is finished. You examine it closely, running your thumb over the hem to check that it lies flat, that all the loose threads are secured. You give the corner a gentle tug, testing the strength of your stitches. They hold firm, not budging, locked in place by the dozens of wraps of thread. Yes, this is good work. The hem is neat and strong, the corner reinforced, the fraying has been stopped. This towel will serve for many more months, perhaps years, before it needs attention again. You tie off the thread on the underside, making a small knot to secure it. You snip it close to the fabric with your scissors. You set the towel aside with the pillowcase. 2 items now complete. You feel that quiet satisfaction again. That sense of having done something useful and good. Something that makes a difference, even if it is a small difference. Even if it is just one towel in one kitchen on one farm. The work continues, item by item, your hands moving with practiced confidence. The basket beside you gradually empties as the stack of mended linens grows. The handkerchief with its delicate embroidered bluebells requires the smallest needle and finest thread. Patience and precision as you follow the existing stitches, filling in the gaps where the old thread has failed. The tiny blue flowers slowly restored to wholeness under your careful attention, each petal receiving its proper outline, each leaf regaining its definition. The tablecloth needs a patch, a square of matching linen cut from a saved scrap and stitched from the underside to reinforce the worn spot. You work slowly and carefully, matching the weave direction, making your stitches small and invisible, ensuring that when the tablecloth is spread on the table, no one will notice the mending. The patch becomes part of the fabric, invisible except to the most careful inspection, a secret strengthening hidden beneath the surface. The napkin with its stain receives a different treatment entirely. French knots worked over the brown mark in cream thread, transforming damage into decoration. Each knot carefully placed, building up texture and pattern, hiding the floor beneath a cluster of raised stitches that catch the light. What was a blemish becomes an embellishment, a small constellation of texture that adds interest rather than drawing the eye to damage. Each item receives your full attention. Each repair is done with care and patience. The hours pass peacefully, marked only by the constant rain and the gradual emptying of the basket. Your hands are tireless in this work, moving with the confidence of long practice. Your mind is quiet and still, resting in the rhythm of the stitching, finding peace in the repetition. Notice how deeply relaxed you have become, how your whole body has softened into the cushions, how your breathing is so slow and even that you barely notice it. This is the peace of purposeful work, the calm of hands that know what to do, the rest that comes from focused attention on something simple and good. The basket is finally empty, all its contents tended to, all the small repairs complete. You set the last item aside, a small drawstring bag with a repaired seam. You lean back against the pillows, your hands resting in your lap. The needle and thread set down on the small table beside the lamp. The satisfaction is quiet but deep, the feeling of having done something useful, something that needed doing, something that will make life in the farmhouse just a little bit easier, a little bit better. These linens will go back into service, into the drawers and cupboards where they belong. They will continue their work, holding and drying and covering, serving the daily needs of the farm. And when they wear out again, as all things eventually do, they will come back to this basket, You will mend them again, or they will be cut up for cleaning rags, or they will be composted back into the earth. Nothing is wasted here. Nothing is thrown away before it has given all it has to give. You stretch slightly, feeling the pleasant tiredness in your shoulders and neck and fingers, the gentle ache that comes from sitting still and focusing intently for a long while. The rain is still falling, patient and endless. The darkness beyond the window is absolute now, the kind of darkness that only comes to the countryside, miles from any town, with no street lights or passing cars to interrupt the night. It makes the lamplight feel even more precious, even more like a small miracle of warmth and safety. You become aware of a soft sound from downstairs, a gentle creak of floorboards. Then you hear the steady pad of heavy paws on the wooden stairs. Miller is coming up to find you. His steps slow and deliberate, each one making the old boards of the staircase groan slightly under his considerable weight. You smile, knowing that he has probably been sleeping by the fire until now. But some internal sense has told him that you have been alone long enough, that it is time for companionship. His broad grey head appears at the top of the stairs, white around the muzzle and forehead. His dark eyes find you immediately in your small alcove. His tail begins to wag slowly, that heavy, contented wag that speaks of simple happiness, of finding his person exactly where he expected them to be. He moves down the hallway toward you, his shaggy body swaying slightly with each step. When he reaches the sewing nook, he sits down with a heavy sigh right beside the bench, his head level with your knee. You reach out and rest your hand on his large head, feeling the soft, thick fur beneath your palm. You scratch gently behind his ears. Miller closes his eyes and leans into your touch, his weight pressing against your leg, solid and warm and completely trusting. He smells faintly of wood smoke from the fire and of dog, that clean animal smell that is not unpleasant but rather comforting in its familiarity. His presence fills the small alcove, his bulk and warmth and steady breathing adding another layer of contentment to this quiet evening. You continue to stroke his head, your fingers moving through the thick fur, finding the places he likes to be scratched, behind the ears and under the chin. Miller settles more heavily against the bench, his breathing deepening, already half asleep again. His body is warm against your leg. You can feel the slow rise and fall of his chest, the calm rhythm of a creature completely at peace. There is no worry in Miller, no anxiety, no restlessness. He has checked on you, found you safe and occupied. Now he is content to simply be near, offering his silent companionship. The lamp on the table has been burning for hours now. You notice that the flame has settled into a perfectly steady glow, not flickering or wavering, just a constant source of golden light. The oil reservoir is still more than half full, plenty to last through the evening and into the deep night if needed, but you know that you will not need it much longer. The work is done. The evening is settling into true night. Soon it will be time to make your way to bed, to leave this alcove and its circle of lamplight and find your own warm nest of blankets and pillows. But not quite yet. There is no rush. The rain is your permission to linger, to sit quietly with your dog beside you and your completed work nearby, to simply be present in this moment without any need to move on to the next thing. You let your head rest against the window frame, feeling the cool glass against your temple. You close your eyes for a moment, just listening. The rain on the roof, Miller's breathing, the soft sound of the wind around the eaves. These simple sounds, layered together, creating a kind of music, a lullaby that speaks of safety and shelter and home. When you open your eyes, again you notice how heavy your eyelids feel, how much effort it takes to keep them open. The work has been calming, the repetitive motion of needle and thread soothing something deep in your mind, smoothing away the rough edges of thought, leaving only a pleasant blankness. A gentle fatigue that is not at all unpleasant. Your hands are completely relaxed now, resting loosely in your lap. You notice how the lamplight makes them look soft and golden, as though they belong in an old painting, captured in amber and held forever in this moment of peace. Miller shifts slightly beside you, his large head sliding down to rest on your thigh. You let him stay there, his weight warm and grounding. You rest your hand on his neck, feeling his pulse slow and steady beneath the fur. You match your breathing to his, slow breath in, slow breath out, each exhale releasing a little more tension, a little more awareness of anything beyond this small alcove and this quiet moment. The stack of mended linen sits beside you on the bench, folded neatly, ready to be returned to their proper places tomorrow. The pillowcase will go back in the linen cupboard. The towel will hang in the kitchen. The handkerchief will be tucked into a drawer. The tablecloth will be smoothed over the dining table for the next meal, each one repaired, each one whole, each one ready to continue its quiet service. The needle and thread rest on the table beside the lamp, waiting for the next time they will be needed, the next small tear or fraying edge, the next opportunity to make something whole. You realize you are smiling slightly, a small, contented smile that you can feel more than see, a warmth that has nothing to do with the lamp or the room, but comes from somewhere deeper, some place of satisfaction and peace. This is what home feels like, you think. Not just a place, but moments like this. The quiet work, the gentle rain, the old dog sleeping against your leg, the knowledge that everything you need is right here, within these stone walls, beneath this slate roof. The lamp flame wavers slightly, just once, responding to some movement of air too subtle for you to feel. Then it steadies again, constant and warm. Your eyelids are so heavy now, drifting closed despite your best efforts to keep them open. When they close, you do not fight it anymore. You let them stay closed. Let the darkness behind your eyes become complete. You simply sit, breathing slowly, feeling Miller's warmth, hearing the rain, held safe in this small alcove at the top of the stairs while the night deepens around the farmhouse. The lamplight presses softly against your closed eyelids, a warm red-gold glow that speaks of fire and safety and home. You feel yourself drifting, not quite asleep, but not quite awake either, suspended in that pleasant space between, where thoughts are slow and formless, and the body feels weightless despite its heaviness. You open your eyes slowly, reluctantly. Miller is deeply asleep, his body completely relaxed against your leg. You move your hand on his neck, patting him gently. You say his name softly. Miller, time to move, old boy. His eyes open slowly, confused for a moment. Then he remembers. His tail thumps once against the floor. He lifts his head from your thigh. You feel the sudden lightness where his weight was. He stands up slowly, stretching. You stand as well, feeling your own stiffness, your own need to stretch and move after sitting still for so long. You pick up the stack of mended linens, holding them carefully. You take one last look around the alcove. You will come back here soon, you know, drawn by the quiet and the focused work and the sense of peace that lives in this small space. But for now, you need sleep. You need your bed and your blankets and the long dark hours of rest that will carry you through to morning. You turn away from the alcove and move down the hallway, Miller padding beside you, his nails clicking softly on the wooden floor. The farmhouse is dim, but you know every step of this hallway, every creak of the floorboards, every shadow and corner. Your bedroom door is open. You move inside, setting the stack of linens on the chair beside the dresser where you will put them away tomorrow. The room is cool but not cold. When you move to the window, you can see the rain still falling, steady and patient as ever. You draw the curtains closed, shutting out the night, turning to face your bed. It is already turned down, the quilts folded back, the pillows plump and waiting. You feel a surge of gratitude for the morning version of yourself who made the bed so carefully, who prepared this welcoming nest. You sit on the edge of the mattress. Miller settles on the rug beside the bed, circling once before lying down with a heavy sigh, his body curled into a shaggy grey circle. You slip beneath the quilts, feeling their weight settle over you, heavy and warm and perfect. You stretch out long, pointing your toes, extending your arms, feeling your spine lengthen and then relax. The pillow cradles your head. You turn onto your side, curling into your favorite sleeping position. You pull the quilts up to your chin. The darkness is complete now. The room nearly silent except for the rain on the roof and Miller's breathing from the floor beside you. Your body sinks into the mattress, every muscle releasing, every point of tension dissolving. You feel yourself being pulled down into sleep, gentle and irresistible. Your breathing slows to match the rhythm of the rain, long breaths in, long breaths out. Your mind grows quieter still, thoughts fading to nothing. leaving only the awareness of warmth and safety and complete comfort. The mending is done, the work is complete, the rain is falling, the dog is sleeping, the farmhouse is holding you safe. You are exactly where you belong, exactly where you need to be. There is nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. There is only this moment, this soft darkness, this feeling of being held and protected and completely at peace. Sleep is here now, deep and welcoming, pulling you down into its gentle embrace. Your body is heavy, so heavy, sinking into the mattress, becoming one with the bed, with the room, with the farmhouse. The rain falls on, the dog sleeps on, and you sleep too, safe and warm and whole. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing calls to you from the darkness. No worries can reach you here. Beneath these quilts, within these walls, you are safe here at Stone Creek Farm. Deep sleep is here, waiting for you, welcoming you. The farmhouse breathes around you, timbers settling, stones holding their warmth, rain drumming its patient rhythm. Miller shifts on his rug, dreaming. Fig is somewhere downstairs, curled in his chair. Barley and Bramble are warm in the stable, standing hip to hip. The chickens are roosting, feathers fluffed. Everything is at rest. Everything is exactly as it should be. And so are you, at rest, at peace, at home. Your breathing is barely noticeable now, soft as a whisper, slow as the turning of seasons. Your heart beats steadily, calmly, a gentle drum that will keep its rhythm all through the night. Sleep has you now, completely and entirely. It will hold you through these dark hours and carry you safely to morning. But morning is so far away. Right now there is only the deep middle of the night, the soft darkness, the gentle rain, and the endless peace of true rest. You are held, you are safe, you are home. Sleep well, rest deeply. Let the rain sing you through the darkness. Let the farmhouse keep you safe. Let the warmth hold you close. There is nothing to fear, nothing to worry about, nothing to do but sleep and sleep and sleep. You are safe here at Stone Creek Farm. Deep sleep is here. Good night.